two, one. Two, one.
Welcome one and all. Here. All right, I think we're good to go.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody. We are here to celebrate Lizzie, our fabulous friend and author, with her first book that's been published by Cuba Press called Polaroid Nights. For those of you who haven't had the pleasure of Lizzie's friendship over all these years, it's been a long time coming. I've had dreams about being able to talk to Lizzie about a Q&A, and she has said that I can ask her any question at all, but we'll just see how things go. First of all, we're actually going to hand over to Mary McCallum, who is on the screen over here. She's going to say a few words, and then after that, Lizzie and I are going to have a little bit of a Q&A, and followed by that, Jenny is going to say a few words if she gets here on time. Alternatively, there will be somebody else who can ask them, Nicole, who can ask some questions. All right, let's go over to you, Mary.
Kia ora tātou, amazing, this is wonderful. It's all working, I can see you, and we're delighted to be here today. I'm looking at myself, which is always a little bit unappealing, but that's all right. I'd like to introduce you to the team of the Cuba Press as myself, Mary McCallum, and my co-director, Sarah Bolland, holding what we're calling a Polaroid sunrise. We couldn't walk up to the Betty and Alabama, Lizzie, I'm sorry, but Sarah's a really good mixologist, so she's done her own kind of... Next to her are the publishers, so there's the three of us. We may see Jessie, who's our intern. She may pop up at some point. Paul's having the Polaroid Sunrise Virgin version. Sorry. Anyway, even more unexciting. But here we are in Wellington joining in, which is terribly exciting. We all played a part in the book. That's how we work. We're a small team, and we like that. Lizzie, I think you talked to all of us at some time in the process, all three. So Sarah designed the gorgeous cover that used your amazing image, Lizzie, that you sort of whipped together one afternoon with old Polaroids and an apron and a little bit of something spilling that looked kind of alcoholic. So wonderfully done. And I think Sarah did a great job with it, and you two worked together so wonderfully on it. Sarah also did the final read-through of the book, very necessary because it was done a hell of a quickly. We're very proud of how quickly we got it out, but it really needed those finalised. So thanks to Sarah for that. Paul did the proofreading after all of that and had a great time. He said he really enjoyed the read. So that's always a good sign, yes. And he's doing the ongoing marketing with me. And I was the editor who dealt with you initially, didn't I, Lizzie, I guess right from the start. But when I say from the start, it wasn't all that long ago. We made a decision on this book, but working with NZS, so the New Zealand Society of Authors and the Laura Solomon Trust, back in March, April. It was not long before the Auckland Writers Festival when I first met you, Lizzie. So we've sped through it, but I think somehow that's made it, I guess, more exciting in a way. It's been as fast-paced a job, if you like, and as exciting and fun as the book itself, really. I think that's how we feel. And you can sort of feel it in the whole book itself when you pick it up and hold it in your hands. We wished we could join you all at XuXu today. It looks fun. It looks amazing. We are there in spirit, as I say. Well, how could we not be? The drinks had to be part of it. So I would just want to say also, when we were working on the book, how many times just simultaneously we'd all burst out laughing. Sarah and I were working one day, swapping one-liners out of the book, or scenes. Lizzie going, oh, there's that one, there's that one, there's that one. It's a black comedy. Oh my gosh, there's some dark threads in it, but there's some absolute gold when it comes to humour. And one of the scenes, which I think you're going to read tonight, was where there's Betty, who's been either working all week in hospitality or drinking all week at night and really hardly getting to bed. She's hardly eaten a thing. She keeps saying she is, but she isn't. And she's justifying drinking a particular cocktail because it has a vegetable in it. And the vegetable is lemongrass. Like, it's the funniest thing. We're like, what? How did she even get there? But that's how lean it's got. As I say, we selected that book back in March, April. We've worked on it ever since with you, Lizzie. You've been a dream to work with in terms of doing the edits, working with us side by side, doing the cover, doing the marketing. Every time we talk to you, it's like bouncing back forward. You've got ideas, you're right in, boots and all. It's just lovely. It really does help a team like us. So thank you to you, Lizzie, so much for what you've done for this great book. Thank you to Jenny Nagel and Nicole Colmar and team at the NZSA for all they've done, and to Nikki Solomon and the Laura Solomon Trust for their role in this. It's been a wonderful collaboration. We've been delighted to be invited into it. I have to say, I read Laura Solomon's work when I was an assessor for Penguin Books, long time ago, and I absolutely loved her wild, imaginative, kick-ass writing. It's so great. And I remember just thinking, what is this? So as soon as we heard there was this prize going down and we could be part of it, we were right in their boots and all, just like Lizzie. And I believe that, Lizzie, you're right. One reason we fell for it is it is in the same vein as Laura's. It's thrilling to read. It's funny. It's sharp. It's got that dark hinterland that it draws on. And you know what we love absolutely most of all is the women fight back. Fabulous. So thank you again. Thank you everyone for coming. This is so good to see that you've actually gathered some people together to do it. And thank you to the wonderful Women's Bookshop for their role. And also thank you to Krish and team at XuXu. Wow, we wouldn't be able to do this without you. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks so much, Mary.
Cheers.
So there's been a few reviews out already, and Lizzie has had a number of interviews already, but given the fact that I was sort of around when some of this stuff was going down, I'm pretty sure we're going to find a couple of angles that the other reviewers haven't necessarily got to yet. So hold on to your seats. First of all, darling Lizzie, how old were you when you first wrote your first draft of Polaroid Nights?
So I was 23 when I first started writing this book, which goes to show I'm a bit slow on getting things out. I started it after university. I'd studied creative writing with Witi Ihmara and Albert Wendt, which was amazing. And I thought, well, that's it. I have to write a novel now. And I thought, well, what am I going to write a novel about? The world I was immersed in kind of jumped out. And I was immersed in the world of hospitality and the bar scene of Auckland in the mid-90s, which was a really golden era to write about. So it went on for a while. Many drafts, many drafts. I could probably fill a room with the drafts. And then finally this year I submitted for this New Zealand Society of Author Laura Solomon Cuba Press prize and won it. Couldn't believe it. So here we are, finally.
Well, we could believe it. And actually, sort of back in the day, we didn't know that Lizzie was really writing about us, really, because Lizzie had sort of absconded. One week she was here and working at a fabulous restaurant, and we were all having a great time. And the next minute, she was literally with only 6 or 7 days' notice on a plane and gone to the next phase in her life, which actually really, you've only come back from holidays since then. So we don't want to give away your age, but let's talk about the fact that you've actually finally come back to Auckland after some 20 odd years. And I just wanted to know, have you visited any of the old haunts, and how are they stacking up by global standards now?
Yeah, when I got back to Auckland a year ago with my family who have never lived here before, it was like stepping back into a beautiful past. Like at first we were in Anzac Avenue and like heading up Shortland Street, all this Britomart area all the time. I've done a lot of walking around, some of the walks with Krishna, back to Ponsonby, spent like hours and hours walking back and forth Ponsonby Road and up and down Vermont Street. I was just in Herne Bay today with a lovely taxi driver, actually. I've got to give a shout out to him. He's a lovely, lovely taxi driver. I'm still making friends with them. And I think like Auckland, it was such a golden time in the mid-90s, but it's really gone from strength to strength, and the hospitality that you have here is second to none. I've been living in Paris, living in Stockholm, and the way New Zealand does hospitality is top class. It's really beats the pants off Paris. Don't tell Paris I said that. But, it's really beautiful to come back and see how the city's changed, but has a real soul to it. So,
yeah. Well, we love having you back, just quietly. There's been some comment in the reviews about the autobiographical nature of this particular novel. What's true and what's fiction?
Yeah, it's all true, of course. That's the perception. When you write fiction, everybody thinks every word is truth. When you write nonfiction, they think you've made it all up. So that's kind of the catch-22. So parts are definitely true, and other parts I've made up. I've never woken up to a dead ex-boyfriend in my bed, which is a good thing, I think.
I'm very grateful.
The waiter's race is completely true. The experiences in the hospitality industry, which was, fantastic, but like that's true research. And there was
we call it that in the biz, just quietly, research and development.
I was never late on my rent, not like Betty. So parts are true, and then other parts are completely made up. And I really had a lot of fun taking parts of my life and blowing them up for this, because I wanted it to be larger than life, because that's what you buy a book for, to go somewhere and experience something larger than life.
And Betty very definitely is larger than life, for those of you who haven't read the book yet. But she's also been described in some of the reviews as a heroine, both self-destructive and indestructible. How do you personally respond to the character Betty now that you're looking back some 25 years?
Yeah, Betty's got a few issues, I will say. I look at her now with a lot of empathy. I think, she's 23. She's finding her way in life, and she's quite unstoppable. I really love that about her and Alabama. I think that, for quite a long time, I wasn't sure how to write Betty, because there'd be sort of shame around how much she's drinking, because seriously, do not drink like Betty. That's like my public service announcement there. But I think that's so important for the story, all of that. And so I have a lot of empathy for her.
And also a reviewer has said that Polaroid Nights has a shock opera plotline. Did it start out like that, or has it just evolved that way with all of the rewriting?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think hospitality has this beautiful drama and ballet to it. Every night, you want that beautiful, faultless service, and, you're swirling around the room, and there's so much that goes into it behind the scenes. And also the young characters are drawn to drama. Their lives are quite dramatic. The flats that I was in, and Krishna and I did flat together at one stage, there was a lot of drama going on all the time. Who's plugged the shower drain with their long hair? Who brought over the questionable gentleman at 2 a.m. and woke everybody up with their stumbling around? All that drama that goes on. So I think it again lends itself to a sort of shock opera plot. Yes, definitely.
And also Lizzie was very good at writing drama for us. So quite often we would have, mystery murder mysteries that we'd have to have a dinner party for.
Yes.
And then we'd all get dressed up and play our part, and Lizzie would do all the writing for us. So we knew way back then that there was something pretty special going on in that brain of hers. And it wasn't always, the drama in the flats that created those bonds. It was the special moments when we resolved them, or not. But you'll read the book and you'll discover some of those anyway. You talked about hospitality, and you know that particular industry is still very dear to my heart. It's a big feature in the book. And I'm just thinking, you know, in this day where there's, you know, the great resignation and there's no staff around in hospo, and I just wondered, you know, what your thoughts were, what you could say about how hospitality has had an influence on your writing, or what you might say to some of the young adults that I have on my team now about how hospo can help them in their future careers, and what you got out of it. Clearly, it's not just all novel fodder for everybody, but what do you think about what I could say to them?
I mean, yeah, what I would say to a 23-year-old in the hospitality industry right now is that, you know, when you're serving or waiting on others, you're observing all the time. And your job is to like be attuned into if people are happy. And it's such a great apprenticeship for so many other things you do in your life. It's great to be a writer. And when I was in the service industry, which I was from 15 till 30, sort of in the service roles, it's a wonderful, you know, training ground for being a writer, because you're observing all the time. You're observing how people are in the room. And I think that it teaches you so many skills on so many levels of collaborating and doing all sorts of real, you know, other jobs that, you know, may not be in hospitality, but are, you know, that they can then get into after being in hospitality. So I definitely think they should not be doing the Great Resignation from...
I'll be bringing you in to tell them that. Maybe we'll get you on the news.
Can do pep talks.
So Polaroid Nights is a crime fiction. And what would you say makes it different to other crime novels?
Yeah, a lot of crime victimizes women. You know, they start out with a woman being followed, and then she's grabbed, and then she's, you know, God knows what. We'd have to ask my mother. She's read like thousands of crime novels. So I really wanted to steer away from that typical way that women are depicted as victims all the time. So yeah, in my writing, yeah, the males get sort of victimized, and the women are seeking the justice. They're very active. They're very like taking control when they can remember what they're doing.
Well, hopefully there'll be more of the same coming from you in that direction. I myself, and in fact, most of my friends, we're all quite drawn to crime, and also we fall within reading about it. You know, like I don't know, but my husband sees me put on the TV and he's like, oh no, here she goes again. It's another true crime, or, you know, and apparently I fall within the statistics. So it's actually very common for women to look at these sorts of novels and these sorts of media, whether it's TV or film, clearly very popular as well. And we are statistically more likely to do that than our male counterparts. So why is that, do you think?
I think women, I mean, it could be partly, you know, you're drawn to what you're frightened of. And if you can read something that's packaged and has an ending, and, you know who the baddie is at the end, then that can be quite reassuring, because, you know, in this world, we don't really know. And there's, you know, some unsolved murders or unsolved things that are just very hard to move on from. And I think also women are quite proactive in seeking justice if they see something. I've had experiences like that in other countries where, you know, it's sort of like the band of women getting together and saying, no, we want to, you know, investigate this further. So, yeah, I think women, yeah, we should all be private detectives, really. And I'm a bit worried about what sort of confession you're about to come out with there, that you're drawn to crime.
Well, I think I've just confessed. I think it's fine. I'm in good company because it's mostly females here and they all looked sheepish-ish. All right, on the darker side, clearly. We've heard that it is funny. Hilarious, actually, as one of our friends, Frankie, texted me as soon as she'd finished. But on the darker side, there is a connection to a crime that you were affected by way back in that time. So as writing the book actually helped with the trauma related to that source of the material?
Yeah, so one of the true parts of this book is that myself and my flatmates were burgled by one of New Zealand's worst serial rapists on Christmas Eve, 95. And so that happened and we thought, oh, well, we've been burgled. But sort of as the months went on, we realized that there is a connection to this serial rapist. And then Helen, one of my flatmates, helped contribute to his conviction, and she testified, and so we could help in that way to bring him to justice. And I think you don't really realize how trauma affects you sometimes when you're in it. And we moved from the flat we'd been in over to Vermont Street. And we didn't get the dog immediately, but, the girls got a dog, to feel safer. But that was the time period when I was going out a lot, like late at night. And it's sort of only in the last year that I realized that Bessie in this book is going out so much because she's afraid to be at home and in her bed because there's burglary. So it kind of allowed me to kind of understand my book. It's sort of like it was therapy in that way. And so that allowed me to understand it and then make sure that there was an actual plot, an actual, crime plot to it, so that it's not just trauma porn as it could be described. So, yeah.
And if you could tell your younger writing self anything, what would it actually be?
Oh, I should have kept those murder mystery dinner parties because, those I just typed up and then I don't know what happened to them. I think we've got one of them, but that would have been great to have kept. So I would probably tell my younger self to figure out technology earlier. And also just keep trying. I mean, it's such a cliche for writers, just don't give up, keep trying. But I mean, this book, I started it so long ago and it's finally in print and it's finally being published. And so that's just incredible. So I just say, don't give up.
And just finally, do you think Betty will slow down her drinking after the book ends, and should she?
Betty will not slow down her drinking. She's 23. Why should she? The thing about Betty is that she doesn't like to be put in a box. She never behaves the way society expects her to. So there's no way she's going to go on a detox cleanse and, get all healthy. And I think, all power to her. I think she's at the end of this book probably just going to go out again that night. Maybe have one night off.
There's maybe some of the people here tonight to celebrate Auckland being open. Thanks so much, darling. We're going to hand over now to Nicole. I'm just going to shimmy over and get back to Lizzie.
Kia ora, everybody. Welcome. Okay, so I'm taking over Jenny from the New Zealand Society of Authors speech, so excuse me if I stumble over some of her words. Yes, kia ora. So, Polaroid Nights by Lizzie Harwood. One reviewer described it as a fast and furious ride. But I think my personal favourite is that it's dark and chaotic and a novel that should be consumed in one shot. The book certainly captures the energy and the intensity of Auckland nightlife in the 1990s. Play hard, work hard, and party like there's no tomorrow, right? But creeping in the background there is a serial predator, layering this sort of fear among everybody's everyday lives. So from being hyper alert, from returning from work, to coming home from the clubs and staying out all night, as you say, instead of going home. Yeah, these are the things that were an everyday for the flatties of your novel back then. But more so, this was based on fact and the real life crimes of rapist Malcolm Rewa. But moving on from that, Polaroid Nights is the winner of the inaugural NZSA Cuba Press Laura Solomon Memorial Prize. So Laura Solomon was a prolific and acclaimed writer. She achieved success and multiple publications as a mid-career writer. But in the end, she was taken by illness. As a longtime member of NZSA, Laura left a bequest to her family to work with NZSA to establish this annual prize for writers, with the main criteria being new writing with a unique and original vision. Knowing that today's publication climate is tough for New Zealand fiction, we contracted the Cuba Press to produce the winning manuscript for publication. The result is this new legacy prize. So we would like to thank the Solomon family and the Cuba Press for making this possible. Lizzie, you're definitely a worthy winner. And I urge you all to read the book and be immersed in this taut and thrilling story based on fact. Thank you, Lizzie, and the Cuba Press for organising the launch, and XuXu Bar for having us, and the mighty Women's Bookshop, who has the book for sale. Buy a copy and have Lizzie sign it. Thank you. Kia ora.
So now I'll do a little reading and say thank you to a couple of people. And then we'll wrap up. Okay, so yes. I need these reading glasses. It's a long story I won't bore you with. It's about my contact lenses. But so this part is somebody's dead. Bessie in Alabama figure that of everyone in Auckland can probably figure this out because they're just that savvy. So it's a Saturday night after service, and here we go. They were on a mission, casual chats with those who knew them from drinking in bars until dawn. This was their quietly spoken theory. If it's someone who has been following our recent antics or someone who knew Truman from the bartending days at Waldorf Astoria and had some bone to pick with him, then they are likely to be still out most nights to the usual bars that we go to watch out for us, Alabama said, lighting up, drawing on her Dunhill blue heavily, handing Betty the pack before she had to bum one. Killers always do a lot of watching afterwards to see if anyone's onto them. So it's eyes peeled and bums on seats, ... to indicate a passage of time. Margaritas beget margaritas, and you feel like you're now sitting on your red raw eyes with your butt peeled, waving in the air. A fake zebra bar stool is your only furry connection to the ground, but you are so high up on it. You fear stepping down off this pedestal to go pee, but you wish to pee badly. There is a crush of bodies around you, for this is Waldorf hysteria, and it is now 2 a.m., rush hour for Minky's boys. There's one now frothing up another lemongrass margarita for you. Good God, have you been drinking those? Won't the lemongrass destroy your stomach that hasn't seen much in the way of food all week? It's been a bad week for food. You would kill for a burger from the white lady. She's open down on Fort, pouring vaporized fats into the freezing night air until precisely 2:30. You tug on Alabama's cap sleeve. She almost falls off her bar stool. Hey there, she drawls. Burger, you say? Yes, I'm so there. How? Angus? Hey, Angus, burger? Dude. Phew, there will be movement. You will lean forward until your aching body gains the momentum to slide off this forsaken island you took up residence on, this fake zebra with its stray white hairs that will have stuck to your black velvet bell-bottomed buttocks. Angus is crazy Angus, and he will escort you, carry you, if need be, out of Waldorf and into the night air, which will slice through your nose and lungs and waken you from this lemongrass stupor. Shit, do Minky's boys put shit in our drinks? How did we get gone so quick? There has been a lack of food since the egg fry-up a long time ago. What happened to staff dinner? By the time you got into Carcassonne, the kitchen had eaten, and you told Dole to forget about it. You haven't seen a vegetable since Monday. But the lemongrass, that's a vegetable, surely. And now another lemongrass margarita edges into your field of vision. Who bought you this one? The faces crowd around the bar, reflect crazily off the back wall in a mad row of pink and brown, flashes of white and red as mouths open, laughing. Everyone is laughing standing here. You in Alabama have practically the only bar stools. You can't abandon Oscar now. You've named these bar stools. Oscar is your steed. Alabama's on Murdoch. Easier to suck in your core muscles and this fine margarita. It's so delicious. You wonder, what's in it? Something lemony? Click, whirr. Lithgow? You swivel on your stool. He must be here. He's always taking cool photos, Polaroids of you. His camera makes that exact sound. There is no Lithgow. There is no sign of a Polaroid or any other camera. And then you remember Thursday night, the night of Truman, Lithgow took Polaroids. At least 3 or 4 of them ended up in your backpack handbag. Alabama, toilet, now. Bessie dragged Alabama off her bar stool, grabbed their handbags off the discreet hooks under the bar top, pushed through the crowd to reach the doorway, into the landing, to the toilets. In the cubicle, she insisted Alabama joined her. Dear Lord, are you going to hurl? No, just get in here. Silently, Betty opened the side pouch of her bag where she kept odd items like Polaroids. Her guts had turned to a solid mass of snakes coiled so tight on themselves they were headless and endless. Look, she fanned out the Polaroids on top of the toilet lid. End of chapter. I'd just like to thank a couple of people. Well, I mean, I've got a massive list, but I won't do that. I just really want to thank the New Zealand Society of Authors and Cuba Press and the Laura Solomon Trust for putting together this prize. I really never expected to win it, so to be the winner is amazing. And they've just all been so supportive throughout everything. I want to especially thank the Cuba Press, Mary and Sarah and Paul. They are absolutely amazing to work with. Mary's like a fairy godmother. She kind of brings out the best in your writing and always has such a beautiful eye for all the details. I want to thank Polaroid, BV, that's the Dutch entity, because I realized that you can't just use a word like that as your title that you've had for 20 something years and that you better get permission. So I wrote to them and they were like, no, we don't do that, but tell us about your book. So I told them and then they gave me permission. I'd like to thank Mikhail and my mum and my family. Jackie's here. The girls are at home. just want to thank lots of my family, all of my family, for always believing in me, especially Dad, who can't be here, but he always believed in me. He believed I was going to be a breakout success about 20 years ago with this novel. So it's happening now. And I want to thank all the writer friends and friends who have read drafts. I know there's a lot of people out there that have read endless drafts of this book, endless headless drafts coiled like snakes. And I want to thank everyone for doing that because, you know, I really didn't know what I was doing with it. So thank you for putting up with that for so long. One of my writer friends said, because it was completely plotless, Bessie needs a war. And that was my friend, my dear friend, Jennifer Butler. So I just want to say, Jennifer, I gave Bessie a war. And so I hope you all buy the book, enjoy the book, tell your friends about the book. And thank you. Thank you to everyone. I think Krish is going to come back, wrap it up. So what we have now is we have the books available here. I know a lot of people have already bought books and I will be signing.
Definitely need to get some people in to sign some books. So Lizzie's going to plop herself right down here. If you haven't got a book signed already, come on down. And the Women's Bookstore will be here to take money if you need to, if you don't already have your copy. If you'd like to order more drinks, you're more than welcome to stay. If we're organising around you, please don't take offence. We have a slightly different layout for regular dining, but we've got plenty of time before the next round of customers arrive. So thanks so much.